Okay, everybody. This is the first time I've ever had to do one of these. I felt that in light of everything that flared up on Twitter regarding Minder and what happened on the village server, I did need to just clarify a couple of things. Firstly, this interview was actually recorded Wednesday, the 29th of May, I believe it was. So before all of that became public. I'm not going to go into it. I don't need to discuss it. It's all there on Twitter. If you want the drama, go look on Twitter. It's all still there. But Minder has issued an apology. You can see that on his own Twitter feed. So if you feel the need to see what it was all about, go and look at it. But I'm not redoing the interview. I'm not cancelling the interview. Minder's still a good bloke. He made a mistake. And he has since apologised for it and the way he behaved. So that's by the by. I hope you all still enjoyed the interview. And yeah, see you in the next one. And welcome everybody back to the DayZ Spotlight. Yes, I had a break there for a few months, just was a bit burnt out and decided it was well and truly time to come back with the Spotlight. And who better to start the Spotlight off again than the one, the only, the Dutch man himself, Minder. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. It's a lot of praise. There's a lot of praise right there at the start. I'm doing very well. How are you doing, buddy?
I am good, mate. I am good. I've had a break. I'm refreshed. Haven't been able to play a lot of DayZ, which is kind of sad. But at the same time, I haven't been able to play DayZ for a good reason because the missus had a couple of months off. She finished up her job and she starts a new job next week.
Okay.
I've had pretty much 2 months of her at home and we haven't killed each other, which means she's the perfect woman for me.
The ultimate test.
It
right?
is the ultimate test, mate. 2 months. We did a drive up north from Brisbane to Townsville, which is about 1,400 kilometres off the top of my head.
Which is nothing for Australia.
No. Nah.
Right? Like 1,400 kilometres, you're driving through the Netherlands like 3 times. No, it's true. Like the Netherlands is very small compared to Australia.
Oh, yeah. Okay, buddy, let's get straight into it. Start off with the basic questions about you. I know your hardcore fans are probably going to know this, but there may be some people watching this who aren't familiar with you. How old are you, mate?
27.
27, not so young. I honestly thought you were younger.
I don't know how to respond to that. I'm not going to lie, that's definitely not the first time I heard of that.
Take it as a compliment,
they go
mate.
Like, oh,
baby face,
okay,
baby smooth skin.
Yeah, all right. Okay, that's, but yeah, 27, yeah.
And family. Mrs., kids?
I got a girlfriend,
Yep.
Saskia. She's 27 as well. She's 1 month older.
Yep.
So for 1 month, I get to call her old. No kids or anything like that. Probably in the future somewhere, but not really focusing on that right now.
Yep.
I got a brother, younger brother. He's 3 years younger than me, and just my parents who live actually about 5 minutes away from me. So I see them pretty much, well, at least once a week, sometimes twice a week.
Yep.
So pretty normal family, I guess.
That's awesome. And what do you do for a living? Now, we were talking about this beforehand, but I know you've done a lot of different things. You've been a waiter, you've worked with wines before as well, I believe. But what about now?
Yeah. Right. Well, now this streaming and YouTube is now my full-time job, and it's been off and on. It's been for a couple of years now, which is honestly like it's honestly awesome to be able to say that because it's a hobby that you have. You started as a hobby, and then you actually get to turn it into your full-time occupation. And like sometimes that comes with a little bit of stress, because you are your own boss. There's no like paycheck at the end of the month. The other, and the privilege of being able to, like surround yourself about making content for video games, and
Yep.
that's how you get paid. And that's it's a pretty awesome thing. But yeah, it's been going on for a couple of years now, and having a great time. Sometimes there's some downtime. Sometimes I'm loving it. I'm loving it right now. So yeah, it's looking to do this for definitely a while longer.
And what do you do outside of gaming, mate? Do you have any other hobbies?
Well, truth be told, I don't really have like a lot of time necessarily to get into other hobbies. I think it also is to do with the fact that gaming kind of is a hobby that turned into your job.
Yep.
So typically, it's easy to spend a lot of time into doing anything: YouTube, Twitch, servers, DayZ, Twitter. You know, like everything is basically involved with the job, right? And it doesn't really feel like a job necessarily, and it's easy to kind of like not have a hobby because of that. But I do like to watch shows. Sometimes I play squash when I can. I used to go to the gym. Need to really pick that back up again. And other than that, I used to play football. I really enjoy playing football, soccer.
Yep.
But 2 knee surgeries kind of messed that up, so I can't play football anymore. But
were you any good?
No. No, I'll just straight up say no, I'm not. I wasn't any good, no. But I did really enjoy it. But I just, like smashed my ACL.
Ooh.
Found out a couple years later. And that's just not happening.
ACL is the anterior cruciate ligament, one of the important ones. Well, there's 2 important ones, the anterior and the posterior. But yeah, I've got a torn ACL myself.
Yeah, that's like when you got like your knee, like there's like 2 bands going around the outside. I'm showing the camera right now, and it's the one on the inside.
Yep.
Attaching to the back of your knee. So if you mess it up, there's a lot of stability missing with your knee, which is what I got. So yeah.
Well, I do know you have one other hobby, mate. Cooking.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, that is a good point.
You're fucking passionate about food, mate. I hear you talking all the time about it. We're not going to talk too much about it now because I do have a couple of questions later on in the interview about that. But yeah, that's another big one of yours that you're always talking about is cooking.
I don't know why I forgot that, but yeah, I do like cooking. It kind of like came out of me being a waiter, being involved with like really high-end food, like it was like a fancy restaurant, and that kind of got me into like cooking and wine and wanting to be able to cook myself. And I don't know why I forgot that, but I don't know. It's maybe because it's just like a daily dinner kind of thing.
Yeah.
That it doesn't really like think like, oh yeah, as a hobby, you still make dinner.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, that's something I definitely want to get better at and learn a lot more with, and really trying out new things with that and trying to get better.
Now, what is the origin of your name? Where did M1ndr come from?
So it's not the first time I'm telling this story. I'm getting this question asked to me quite a lot, but it started originally with my neighbors back when I lived with my parents, not in the house that they live in right now, but a long time ago. We got an Xbox 360 and wanted to set up an Xbox Live account, and he asked me like, "Hey, what do you want to set as your gamer tag?" I'm just like, like I haven't thought of that at all, right?
Yep.
And I was quite young, but I remember watching a movie on a VHS called Mindhunters, which is a movie about a couple of detectives who are trying to sort. There's like something happened in a specific like theme park or in a place like a murder, and they're trying to figure out what it is, and turns out the murderer is still there and fucks them all up in brutal ways. But that has nothing to do with the name. I just really liked Mindhunters, so I was like, yeah, let's do Mindhunter, and then we add NL. Because I'm from the Netherlands, and then all lower caps, and then no space between. A horrible sight, obviously, for a gamer tag.
Yep.
And that kind of like on Xbox Live, you kind of get bored of that, so that resulted into Mindhunter only with all caps. But people kept calling me Mind because they found it annoying to call it Mindhunter, so they kept calling me Mind, and I was like, maybe we could do something with that. And with the Xbox, like you have availability of usernames. Yep. And then I was like, let's do Mind with a 1 with all caps. And then obviously it was taken. But my first name is Rolf. So I was like, okay, let's add an R at the end of Mind with a 1. And that kind of resulted into M1ndr. I'm like, that kind of sounds okay. And just kind of rolled with that.
Yep.
And it kind of stuck.
I thought it was going to be the R from Hunter. You just removed the HUNTE. Is how you ended up with M1ndr, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, actually, my first name is in there.
Awesome. Now, when it comes to editing, what recording software do you use, mate?
I use OBS Studio. Well, if we're talking about recording gameplay footage, that's what we're talking about, right? Okay, so I use OBS Studio versus a lot of people using Shadowplay, and that's a conscious decision. Because I know Shadowplay now records the in-game audio and the microphone audio separately, and that's great. Right, but OBS Studio just offers a little bit more variety in options regarding that. Also, just the quality can be set a little bit more precise. I know that Shadowplay at 1080p or Shadowplay goes to like a certain bit rate, and OBS Studio you can set it manually a little bit better. You can set how it records. I just noticed like a significant quality difference, and although the impact for the CPU is a little bit more impactful with OBS Studio, it's definitely a quality improvement over Shadowplay. And because I'm using a dual PC setup anyway, I don't really mind that it hits a couple, like it literally is 5 frames, right? But I'm using a dual PC setup. So for me, while streaming, that's really not that big of a deal. And I just get the best possible quality out of it that I can, really, which is the biggest deal for me.
Yep. And you are a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to your videos as well. So, you know, for someone who's a bit of an average Joe like myself, I'm probably not going to notice a difference. But when you're putting as much time and effort into it and uploading as much as you do, you're probably going to notice those little things all the more and make you happier with your finished product as well.
I mean, you yourself are the ultimate critic, right? Like every single video that you make, at the end of it, you hit upload and then you watch it and you think like, oh, I could have done that better. Oh, I could have done that better. Oh, there's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I have that all the time. And that's, you know, like you're always trying to make the quality just a tad better. And it's still not perfect. I would rather set it up so that it records Discord separately. I'm still meaning to do that, but for now at least it gets the job done, and for the majority of time I kind of like get around it by just with some editing. Speaking of editing, what software do you use? I use Sony Vegas.
Pretty much everyone does.
Okay, so I think Sony Vegas, I think it helps that Sony Vegas was quite available for pirating.
Yes, I knew where you were going with that.
Yeah, it was quite available. It still is. And I don't think necessarily that that is a negative thing. Necessarily, it used to be Sony Vegas. Now it's Magic's Vegas Pro, I think. But in general, the way it works with editing software is that when people are just doing it as a hobby, they obviously can't spend $200, $300, $400, $500 on editing software. But if they do get that experience in that software suite and they do end up doing something editing related, you'll find those people sticking with that software and investing that amount of money when they can afford it for their job into actually buying it. So this is why, you know, like you'll see a lot of the companies like Magic's don't really do anything about this pirating because they know it kind of is like their trial. They're not really making any real money with it anyway. There's obviously YouTubers that make a lot of money with pirated Sony Vegas. I bought mine because there was a Humble Bundle thing, which was a really good deal, which was like, I think it was like 25 euros or $25, and then you would get Sony Vegas Pro 14 Edit, which is basically has everything. So I bought that for my streaming PC and I bought that for my laptop. And so I've got actual licenses for my Sony Vegas because I was like, I make a living doing this right now, so let's be honest about it and pay for it.
So why did you start making videos and streaming yourself, mate? What got you started? What was your motivation?
Oh, what is your motivation? Well, obviously watching YouTube, you see a lot of YouTubers doing this thing, and there's definitely an attraction to what they're doing, right? Because, you know, like especially back in those days, I started my YouTube channel in 2013. I had like a shitty YouTube channel that we're totally not talking about before that. But you definitely notice it started originally like Minecraft Let's Plays that people got really big with. You see these people actually buying houses because of this stuff, and you think like, shit, that's something I would love to do. Always been into gaming, and then just got inspired by that. Not just Minecraft, but also like Battlefield stuff, DayZ stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say that Frankie obviously was a big influence to me making DayZ content in a story kind of way.
Yep.
He didn't introduce me to DayZ necessarily. That was actually a video I saw from Rooster Teeth, which is I don't know if you know those, but they're based in Austin.
Yeah.
And I saw a video from them about DayZ, and I was just like, okay, this game actually looks pretty freaking cool. And then you start searching on YouTube, and then you run into these story videos from Frankie, which were legendary in its own right.
Yeah.
And it just gets you hyped about making that.
Yeah.
But funny enough, I started making Battlefield videos because I played a lot of Battlefield, and that's how I started out. And eventually moved into DayZ Mod and DayZ Standalone, and kind of went from there.
What would you say is your best video? What's the one that you yourself are most proud of? The one that you mentioned before about how you're your own worst critic. What's the video that you look back at and go, fuck yeah?
Oof. Man, that is a tough one. I think Survivors on the Radio, for me, is a big one.
Yep.
Mostly because it had a little bit of everything. It was, derived from about meeting people randomly on the radio, coming together, joining into playing together, and then actually coming to a real bond with random people, and then it all get torn away by a final firefight of which I'm the only person standing.
Yep.
There was a real up and down in that, and it's not necessarily that I'm proud of the editing of that, because that's not, in my opinion, what makes a good video, but it was just the perfect mix of just everything coming together into this kind of emotional story kind of thing, which is, in my opinion, what DayZ is all about, or should all be about. So if I have to say I am proudest of one video, it has to be that. If I can say I'm proudest of my Brothers of DayZ series.
Yeah. I think that's what you're most known for, mate, is your Brothers of DayZ series.
I'm literally getting asked about a second season on the stream 5 times a day, and that's not exaggeration. It happens all the time.
Yep.
It's something that I think definitely with DayZ wise it is the most interesting, because in my opinion, with role play, it's not just I'm playing a video game. You're really trying to be someone, be a character. It's a little bit more than pretending in a random server to be someone else. You're really trying to evolve your character, and that's super exciting to be able to make content around that.
Not everyone can roleplay either, mate. That is one of your strengths. You're very good at that. Probably the other strength I would give you is you're very good at. I remember watching you live with your video where I can't remember the name of it, but you partnered up with some guy, and you said farewell to each other at Devil's Castle, I think, and you managed to get a nice sunset framing for the end of that journey. You knew that was going to be a video. And you're constantly thinking about things like that as you're streaming as well. So that's probably a big strength of yours, is you're very artistic when it comes to knowing how to get the most out of your interactions so that it will translate well to a video when you're editing it.
Well, first of all, I don't want to claim that I'm a good role player. I think I kind of just wing it. I'm not really good at voices. I try to really get involved in it, but I wouldn't consider myself a really great RPer. I'm okay at it, but nothing special. Is the one you're talking about? Was that a Brothers of DayZ video? The Brothers of DayZ video is what really comes to mind for that.
I think it was. You were on top of the castle, and he walked off into the distance, and you were a bit annoyed because you couldn't actually get him in the frame of the farewell, but you still got a nice sunset.
Right, yeah, that could be it.
Yeah.
Man, it's been. I think it's almost been 2 years. So.
Yeah. So, who or what got you into gaming?
Who or what? My parents introduced me into like a Game Boy with Pokemon early on. I was a Pokemon Blue kind of guy.
Gotta catch them all.
And gotta catch them all. And that was kind of my first gaming experience. You know, like obviously like watching. I watched a lot of TV as well, like you would, you know, back in the 90s. You would watch TV. You would watch, you know, like Pokemon on TV as well. There's a game around it. Like obviously. That kind of like sparked it for me, and then the first console that our parents got us was like a Super Nintendo.
Yep.
So think about, you know, Mario Brothers, think about Mario Kart, those kinds of games that kind of like snowballed into me just having a passion for gaming, to be honest.
Yep.
But if I have to say the roots, it has to be Pokemon.
Favorite game of all time?
Halo 3.
Halo 3.
Halo 3.
Are you going to be getting
Halo
the
3,
Master
yeah.
Chief collection?
Oh yes, yeah, definitely. That's honestly, like, being able to play that on PC. I am so looking forward to that.
Yeah, same.
It's one of my it's one of the big things in gaming I'm looking forward to. I don't look forward to a lot of stuff in gaming anymore, but that's really what I'm looking forward to. Second place, I would say, very closely to Halo 3 would have to be Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
Yep.
Which is just a masterpiece in its own way, in my opinion.
What was your first PC like?
It was my first own PC, or the first PC I started gaming on.
First PC you started gaming on.
That's a tough one because it was one just a hand me down from my dad. It was like a Windows Pentium 2000 or like ME 2000. I don't know what it was called. It didn't really play a lot of games. I remember playing Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter game on it, which was epic, by the way. But also like Red Alert 2. I'm trying to think which other games I really played on that.
Red Alert was an amazing game.
Yes, man. Still the music, if you listen to the music right now, it's still really good.
Halo music, you can't beat that for me.
I'm with you there. But yeah, that PC was kind of... I don't really know about anything of specs.
Yep.
I know better about my first PC that I got, which was for college. I got an Alienware laptop, which was an M13X with an i5 CPU.
Now you paid a pretty penny for that.
It was, I think it was like 1,200 euros or something like that.
Yep.
But it wasn't good. Like it didn't hold up to time at all. At the time, it was just not a good laptop whatsoever. That was right when they sold off Alienware to Dell. So it was pretty much just like Dell Inside and Dell Everything with an Alienware shell. Alienware since has gotten better, but
and a huge markup because it was Alienware.
Exactly. So I don't have the fondest memories of that specific laptop.
Yep.
But that's definitely my first PC, my own PC, my own one.
And you said your first console was a handheld Game Boy.
Yes.
Yep.
Is that a console?
I reckon it is. It's a handheld console.
Handheld console. Okay. Fair enough.
What about for a main gaming console?
Like, what do you mean?
Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation. What was your first one?
Well, my Super Nintendo was the first one, which we got. My parents then got a PlayStation 1 with a lot of bootlegged games, and then it turned into a PlayStation 2, Xbox 360, and
did you get the dreaded Red Ring of Death?
Yes, I did. But it was still within warranty because I got 3 quarters lit up. It meant that you get 3-year warranty instead of 2.
Okay.
So I did get that. Yeah. I'm trying to remember what happened to that. If we got a new console or it got fixed or we got the Xbox One S, because I've got an Xbox One S.
Yep.
No, not an Xbox One S. Xbox 360 S. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like the smaller black one.
Yeah,
that one. I've got that one, but I don't remember if that's something I specifically bought or that's something that we got as kind of like a compensation because our main one broke. I don't quite remember.
DayZ, did you play the mod?
Yes, I did.
What did you think of it?
I did. Oh man, my adventures on the mod have been pretty awesome. I mean, I still got them on my YouTube channel. I used to own an own server with 2 other guys, and we used to hold these events where we would run down these SUVs, these armored SUVs filled with guns, and all our guys had guns as well, and we would run them constantly up and down the coast. Back then, like, the cars were really like fast and stuff. They are right now as well, but you can drive down the coast like constantly, back and forth. And then we would basically we would tell people, okay, we're on the coast right now, come and kill us, and you can keep the gear, right? And it was really like high-end gear. So I would fly around with a helicopter, following them, trying to film this for the YouTube channel. Right, filming this like carnage where all of a sudden one of the cars like flips, and then just like this like sick ambush of like 5v5, and you know, like and then the admins purposely trying to keep the car alive by resetting the health on the car so it can keep going, you know, like stuff like that. And eventually, of course, one dipshit decided to shoot me out of the chopper, but. No, yeah, there's some really fun memories about playing the DayZ mod. Helicopters in general as well. Yeah, which is one of the big things I'm missing for DayZ for DayZ standalone. Helicopters was such a fundamental part of just the fun of DayZ mod, and
I think you're not the only one. There's a lot of people I've spoken to who've said that DayZ needs its helicopters back, and as soon as possible.
Yeah, that one's for me was definitely, when I think back to DayZ mod, I think about how a plane tried to like leave below to airstrip, and we, instead of us trying to shoot the pilot out, we were just like, fuck it, we've got a helicopter here, let's just crash it into the plane. So yeah, no, yeah, it's who knows, maybe standalone helicopters one day, maybe.
So what is it about DayZ that makes you love it so much?
For me, it is the fact that not every so every single situation you come into is unique in its own way. Like, there's no firefight that is incredibly similar. There's situations where you're gonna run in like, oh yeah, another VMC fight, right? But even then, within that, there is so much room. There's so many variables. Yep. And I say this often on stream as well. It's like. I don't know if I would have been playing DayZ as much if I wouldn't make videos of it, because one of the big things that really drives me to coming back to really playing DayZ is also being able to not only play it and create stories, but be able to tell those stories in an interesting way. And knowing that I'm recording something for YouTube, it kind of like gets my, I don't know, there's something like a creative spark that it gets me with that. For me, is what really wants me coming back. Like, there's something about being able to tell a story, not necessarily just playing it, but also knowing that you're going to be able to bring it forward and tell it with music. And I mean, I love watching movies as well, so to be able to work that into working that into what you're playing is what, for me, keeps DayZ very, very interesting. And
it's a great game for streaming as well, because there's so much downtime, you know, between interactions or PvP encounters. There's a lot of time to engage with your audience and, you know, have a good conversation with them while you're moving from, you know, point A to point B and so on. So it's fantastic in that regard.
I think it's probably one of the best games to stream.
Yeah.
Surely, purely because of that. But, you know, you do get killed quite often looking at chat, so there's that.
Yeah. Well, you answered the next one, you know, why do you still play it? So if you could add anything to the game, I think I know what you're going to say here. What would it be and why? Helicopters?
So I'm trying to think of an answer. Like, would you like an answer as well where I think stuff that the devs already announced?
Yeah.
Or, okay, because then fractures.
Yes.
Which I know that's going to be added next patch. 1.04 is going to have the fractures.
That's going to be huge.
Yeah. But it's such a fundamental part of the game. Like, to me, like, I'm okay with releasing a game 1.0 and like it having missing certain cars or weapons or helicopters, but fractures were such a fundamental core gameplay aspect of the game. Being able to disable people, having to deal with a fracture in your arm or when you're crawling on the floor. And well, they released into 1.0 and then there was no fracture. So for me, that was the biggest missing link for DayZ. So if I would add one, that would be it. We're getting that next patch. If I'm going to say after that, what would you add? I want to say something clever. I'll obviously helicopters, but I'll say, to be clever, I'll say slings. Slings
as in like a slingshot?
No, as in like a weapon sling.
Oh, yep.
So instead of having the guns glued to your back and your axe as well, you have like a military sling which has a faster draw speed.
Yep.
And then you have an improvised sling which you can make with like 2 ropes, for example.
That'd be pretty good
sling.
actually. It's something I've always wondered, but I think that kind of falls into the category of just how far do they go with the realism. Like me personally, if they let me in charge of it, one of the first things I would do is that you cannot access your backpack while it's on. You can access someone else's backpack if they stand still for you, or if they're walking, but
that used to be a thing in the mod, by the way.
Yeah.
That you can access people's backpack. I remember sneaking up on a sniper and they would sit there crouched and then you were just like in their backpack and they wouldn't know.
Who is your favorite DayZ content creator? Who in the current spectrum of people do you look at and aspire to be like or admire for what they're doing?
Oh man. Hey, would you like to choose between your friends? Is what you're asking me right now? My one favorite content creator.
Who's someone who you don't miss watching their videos when they upload one?
I don't miss watching their videos?
As in, if they upload a video, you're going to watch it. Regardless.
Right. Oh, man. Well, like, for example, like I don't necessarily watch that many DayZ videos, if that makes sense. Sometimes I do like I don't religiously like watch every single video that comes out. Sometimes I do like a binge of like some DayZ videos.
Yep.
And that's not necessarily to do with being disinterested.
Okay, then.
It's more...
I'll make it easy for you because you're skirting around it. You don't want to answer it so you don't upset Toprek or Diddy or Mr. AG.
No, well...
Who's the last person you binge watched?
The last person I binge watched was probably
Toprek, yep.
Yeah.
And I can totally understand why. He is one of the funniest content creators out there. Some of the stuff he gets up to is fucking hilarious. He's a brilliant PvPer, but God, he's funny as well.
Yeah, obviously, like Tope is like one of the well, probably in my opinion, one of the content creator with the best DayZ skills right now. So you know, like he is the hardcore PvP guy when it comes to his videos, and that's something. But he still puts like a funny twist on it. He still puts in a little bit of story on it. So it's not just like him, like you know, face clanning 360 no scoping people, but it's like him. You know, like when it comes to like a PvP guy, he's your guy. But I do want to point out, buddies, that I'm not necessarily trying to avoid answering. But what I wanted to say is that the reason why I don't necessarily watch that many YouTube videos is also because I don't know if I want to be with my mind with DayZ every single time I'm not streaming. If that makes sense.
No, totally. You do it for a job. So you're probably doing it 8 hours a day, if not more. With editing and all the rest of it, so I can totally understand that during your downtime you may want to do other stuff.
Yeah, like I generally, if I have time to myself, usually I spend time with Saskia.
Yep.
Or recently I've been watching a show, Vikings, but it's not necessarily, like I said, a matter of disinterest. It's just, you know, like sometimes I think it's also good and important is to step away from anything job related in general.
Wait until you have a kid,
keep
mate.
your mind sane.
Wait until you have a kid. You'll find even less time. I'm wondering how D's going to handle it.
Yeah. Oh well, that's. I think he'll be fine. I think Diddy would be a good dad.
Status reports, did you miss them?
Ish. I think that the devs in general could do so much better with communicating with the community.
Yep.
So much better. Like, I kind of want to get deep into this, but
you get as deep as you
when
want
you look
to,
at how. If you look at how, I will do it then. If you look at how many questions there are still surrounding DayZ that are completely unnecessary, I think it's such a shame. Like, let's be completely honest. Bohemia has been, in general, throughout DayZ's development, been absolutely terrible with communicating with their community. That's a fact. And if you look at, like some things right now that still could be done so much better. Like, it's such a shame. Like if you look at, I don't know if have you played DayZ on Xbox?
No.
So if you look at Xbox right now, it is a complete shit show. Basically, there's this issue. Characters are not locked to servers. They're all on the main hive, just like official on PC.
So people are server hopping like crazy.
Server hopping like crazy, but not just that, duping. Right? So they are massively duping entire backpacks, like entire inventories at the time, and then stashing that into bases and places, right? There's issues with characters when they get killed. Some people like turn off their Xbox, and then they will turn their Xbox back on, and their character is alive again, right? Or just in general, just like lag, like FPS drops. People glitching on top of like a Solnichi factory and then shooting down from that. It is every single duper is running around on the coast shooting fresh spawns on Xbox right now. And tying back to the communication, there is very little acknowledgement of this by the devs publicly. There was one stream on Mixer which was an Xbox related stream, and they kind of said like, oh yeah, we're aware of the duping issues, we're looking into fixing it. But then, it's been quiet for almost like a month and a half.
Yep.
Yesterday, during their stream, they kind of mention it, but like I don't really. When I talk to like, a lot of people playing on Xbox in the chat, like they're so angry at still the lack of communication, the lack of acknowledgement about how big the issue actually is. Mm-hmm. That they kind of feel left out a little bit. And if you look at right now on Twitter, they said like 30% off on Xbox. And if you look at the top replies, it's all, what the fuck? Like, why would he ever recommend anyone buying this? Because the devs are not responding to very serious issues in the game, and it's still a buggy mess. It's basically the PC life cycle all over again, where there was really bad bugs in the game, and there wasn't good communication about how it's going to fix it. And we have the exact same thing on Xbox. So,
well, I've actually got an interview planned in the next month or so with a Xbox streamer. So I'll be talking. Who is it? I'm not going to say who it is yet, but he usually has, from what I can tell, 100 or so people watching him. So, yeah. I'm quite excited to do it because I don't know a lot. It was Renee's idea actually to interview someone from the Xbox community. One, to find out what they're going through, and two, to let them know that yes, they are our retarded little cousins, the console people. I'm joking. But they are still part of the DayZ community, and we do love them for it, loving the game that we all love as well.
That's one way to call him. I mean, let's be honest. Like, Xbox is a massive step down from PC.
Oh yeah.
But there's a lot of people playing.
Yeah.
It, and there is a really active, good community on Xbox.
I'm stunned they managed to fit that map into a playable version on a console.
Well, actually, the map size itself on console is not really that big of an issue. It's just more how to scale everything into Xbox properly. But it's like a lot of people on Xbox feel like they're left in the wind a little bit, and it's kind of a bummer because they are in my opinion, they're a part of the DayZ community, and they don't deserve, now that we have console, which is great. I think making DayZ more accessible is great. PS4 got announced yesterday.
Yes.
Well, officially announced yesterday.
Yeah.
And that's great, but those people deserve a good game, and like I'm hoping the next patch is going to be better for them. But it's been a little bit sad getting people so frustrated and emotional about DayZ. But I know exactly where they're coming from because we've been through it on PC as well.
Well, I want status reports back. I miss them. I love them. One of the biggest things I miss was I'm not the most technical person, so a lot of the stuff, the finer detail, would go straight over my head. But one thing I loved about them was the community spotlight, because it helped to make.
But they're still doing those.
But it just doesn't have the same focus because it's not part of the main deal. I know when they moved it, but they would still reference it in the status report, and they'd say, and here's the link to the community spotlight.
Right.
I think that was one of their biggest mistakes, was stopping the status reports. I know there were people complaining about them, but at least we had them. Now it's just the the technical stuff that they release every now and then, the patch updates and so on. I much preferred. A lot of people said they got frustrated with listening to Brian waffle in them. Man, I fucking loved it. I enjoyed hearing what was going on. At least it was some form of communication from them. A regular, fortnightly thing. Everyone looked forward to the status report, particularly when we knew we were getting closer to the next patch and so on. The little GIFs they would put in there showing animations and all sorts of stuff. Back when they were doing the change to the new engine and showing us what it would look like in the new engine, and that just looked amazing.
Right. Well, I don't know if you followed why they stopped doing those. Apparently, there was a lot of effort that went into making a status report. It wasn't just like a one day, everyone pull this in. Like, you physically have to get people to film those GIFs.
Yep.
It has to be like edited. It has to be like, there's a lot of effort that went into those. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think you do need to have that. I think you do need to have that communication with your community. I think you need to be able. I think you owe it to them to do proper communication. And like I said, they've always been bad at this, but right now it does feel a little bit empty. It feels like a little bit, like sometimes you get a glimpse. Like, for some reason, the most important stuff that comes out, like information-wise, right now from DayZ is either a patch or them answering a random question on Twitter that people just happen to find. It's such a decentralized way of communicating with your community, and they need to really do better at communicating with everyone, because it's
the status report
been getting
was
worse
that
and
one
worse
place
again,
to find all the info.
Yeah, and especially now that you're delivering on multiple consoles. There's more and more to share from their perspective. Yeah. Right. So, I agree, they do need to do it, but I think they have an issue with manpower. I think they have an issue with just in general, just having a good team for it. They have a video team, but I don't know if making a status report. I don't know. We can't look into what's going on at the Bohemia offices, but from a consumer perspective, from a player perspective, we deserve better communication.
What, if any, advice would you give to the dev team if they happen to watch this interview?
Any advice? I think I think that's probably the biggest one. I can't tell them develop faster, right?
No.
Or put in this, put in that. But I think the one thing they can definitely do is communicate better and more. For example, a good example is 1.03 got pushed to experimental stable, and this got added, this got added, this got added, this got added. But something that people don't know about is we buffed all the melee damage and all the gun damage. Did you know about that?
No.
Nope. No one knew about this, but I noticed it, right? So I asked Peter in private message on Twitter, what's going on? Why am I getting one shot by M4s now, and Mosins go through play carriers and stuff like that? It's we a lot of people were complaining about the lack of damage, so we upped the damage. First of all, I don't know who was complaining, but there's been zero communication about this. So, it's a good example of if you communicate this, obviously we can work better with giving feedback, right? We know what we're looking into. We know exactly okay, you changed this, let's see how it plays right now. But if you don't put it out and kind of just sneakily put it in, you can say then that way there's no placebo effect or anything. But it also means that there is no grasp of the community understanding of how to balance it, because from a lot of people's minds, people still think like the damage is the same, and it's not.
I think we need to specify though that when they put something like that in, they need to communicate it, but at the same time, when they've done things in the past where that patch where they dropped in the shotgun and didn't tell anyone, and people were running around the map and finding shotguns just going, oh my fucking god, the shotgun's back. And from what I remember, they took it out again shortly afterwards. But just that little bit of joy of people finding something for the first time.
That was a mistake.
But that's something that they should do more of, is drop something in as a surprise. Don't tell us what's coming. Let us find it for the first time. Let people, let that little bit of Chinese whispers spread through the community that, oh my God, did you hear they just put the org back in, or something like that. Just as almost like a little Easter egg in the game, even though it's stuff we've had before. But yeah, that would be absolutely amazing for me. A good way to, an easy way to boost morale.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a downside to that as well. It's like, like if we would ask them to be transparent, and then you're going to be secretive about what guns you're adding to a new patch, So I don't know about that, but in general, I think it's important is that communication just gets better. Like, there is still such a lack of communication, and I don't necessarily think it's like one person or two people's fault.
Yep.
I think there's definitely a lot of the stuff what you notice with DayZ right now is that there's definitely some Bohemia decision making overarching the whole project, rather than like individual developers saying, okay, this is how I want to do it, let's do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I'm hoping they get better at communication. That would be so good. They're getting better at it though. Like, they're getting better at it. They did the stream yesterday, which I think was good. It was more of an advertisement than a real communication. Well, they did a Q&A, I guess, but more an advertisement than anything. But it's still got a long way to go, in my opinion.
What's your biggest gripe with DayZ overall?
Now I want to really think about this answer, because the easiest thing could be, the fact that development has been taking so long, right?
Yeah.
But I'm also completely understanding of why it took so long. And when you think about it, when they created a completely new engine, it's really not that long. My biggest gripe with DayZ, I think I'm going to come back to the communication thing. Throughout the development, communication with the community and like PR stuff has always been a complete shit show with DayZ. Like in regards to like Dustin Hux, like on Twitter saying like, people were talking to them and he was being like giving really nasty comments, being really snappy, to Brian Hicks, banning people, to in general, just like, don't be properly communicative about what you're doing, what you're developing, why it's taking so long. There's definitely been, communication has always been a fundamental issue with DayZ development, and that's the biggest gripe I have with DayZ as a game, or as its development, so to speak, because it's unnecessary. Like, I understand development takes a while, I do, but communication shouldn't have to. And like, the best thing you can do, like, you need to take as much time as possible to make it good, but the least thing you can do is properly communicate to your community about it. So
yeah,
probably that one, to be honest.
What are you looking forward to the most in DayZ?
Probably Fractures being back.
Yep.
Mostly because they're such a fundamental point of the game, so I'm really looking forward to next patch, to be honest. Helicopter's obviously going to be really hype, but I think it's because there's probably going to be like a rare amount spawning on the map. There's going to be like a complete frenzy to try and get a helicopter working. You'll probably have to get a working car in order to get it fixed. You can't, as of right now, you can't shoot out of vehicles. So I'm a little bit less hyped for that. More hyped for Fractures and just finally getting that back in the game. And just seeing the game, like putting in, like, This is not necessarily, well, it's DayZ related. It's not from the development related, but Namalsk is something I'm really, really, really looking for.
That's what I was actually thinking in my head. Yeah, Namalsk. I think we all hoped it would have been out by now, but we understand that Adam is a very busy guy. It'll be ready when it's ready. I'm so looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you think about it, he's the only person working on it. Like, he's not just working on bringing a winter map into, you know, like the current DayZ. It's not that simple. Like, he is putting in a lot of very interesting features into that map. That I'm not going to spoil here, but that really are. The map is looking incredible. When I was at the Bohemia offices last year, he showed me a sneak peek, and let me tell you, it's there's a reason to be hyped about it.
Yeah. We are, Adam, if you're watching this, we are all waiting with bated breath for this map to come.
I'll give you money, Adam. Money!
What would you say your style of play is? How would you describe the way you play?
Variable.
Yep.
If I have to say it in one word. Like, sometimes I do straight KOS, and sometimes I am a really friendly guy giving away stuff. I think in general, I'm always trying to play in such a way that it's not just that I'm trying to bring some variety into it. Like, sometimes I really physically try and push into doing something new or different. So in that regard, yeah, perhaps that's my play style, perhaps, like just trying to mix it up and trying out new things, but not shying away from being one specific way or another. I generally just don't like being a cannibal. I don't know why that one is the one that I always stay away from.
I still have never eaten human meat in this game.
I think maybe once. I've maybe done it once to see if I can get like the heebie-jeebies.
Yep.
But other than that, no, that's the one thing I stay away from.
How many people do you think there should be per server? What's the sweet spot for you?
70. I think 70, because a lot of people say like, oh yeah, 120, right? But the whole point of DayZ is that, in my opinion, is that there is also like a something of emptiness in what you're playing as well, that keeps you, you know, like that allows you to let your guard down. And that's, you know, like you can, like, it's like playing Call of Duty, right? If you play Call of Duty, you're constantly into the engagements, and each engagement is not necessarily special. But if you don't run into constant engagements, when you do run into one, your adrenaline starts spiking. You know, it's way more exciting. And I think 70 players, like a little bit over what we have right now, would just allow it to just be a tad more crowded. But also be in a place where you can stroll around perfectly fine everywhere. But, you know, sniper might be lurking, so you never know. So, and in my opinion, like the best servers are the servers that don't have people running on the coast or just Northwest Airfield VMC, but all over the place. And I think 70 people would make it nice and cozy, but not too much.
80 was the number I always have in mind when I think about it. But yeah, I can 80, 70, very, very similar.
Yeah, it's similar. It's similar, I'd say.
Has your style of play changed at all? If so, how and why?
Oh, totally, dude. I used to be making videos called Hunting Bandits, and I'm a bandit on a regular basis right now. But in that regard, I'm the biggest hypocrite ever. But I think in general, when you play a lot of DayZ, they're like playing one play style is pretty much impossible. I've played this game for almost 6,000 hours. You can't just always be a good guy, except if you're Renee, I guess. But you know, no, I've seen Renee sometimes be a dick in the game.
Well, I remember Renee said to me that when he first started, I'm pretty sure he was a bit of a bandit, but he changed his playstyle, and now he's generally a good guy.
I don't know. I think Renee's got like some. I think he's got some sneaky stuff going on in there. I think don't underestimate Renee. Like he'll do something freaky at some point. Yeah, no, yeah. I definitely changed in that regard. Yeah. But like I said, I'm not necessarily just a bad guy right now. But I'm definitely have leaned more or have shifted more into also doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. What for you is the most memorable moment you have ever had playing DayZ?
Probably having my character executed at the end of Brothers of DayZ.
Yep.
Mostly because it's kind of like wound into together from everything that happened beforehand, kind of like went into that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I was so salty about it. It was kind of like shitty the way it went as well, which I'm not going to get into, but it mostly is because it was so significant, right? It was such a significant thing that happened, and looking back at it, it's like if you that's the cool thing about making videos. Videos are not only like there for sharing content and like getting subscribers, but it's also a literal diary of your DayZ adventures, right? It's literally there. When you look back at throughout the entirety that I played DayZ, that's definitely one moment that will always, for me, be such a fundamental part of DayZ, because it was everything coming together into this storyline that I've been playing for over a year, coming together, and then finally, and then that's it. And then it's not a happy ending, but it's definitely the most memorable for me.
But that's the beauty of DayZ, for games like PUBG and that, people will remember an epic headshot they had or something like that at the long range. I think for most people, their favourite memory, or just the thing that sticks out for the most of them, is an interaction of some sort. More so than an epic squad wipe or something like that. Most people will always point back to the time they were betrayed, or the time they ran into someone. Some sort of story event, as opposed to just your cannon fodder run of the mill PvP KOS moment.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what DayZ does best over any other game.
Now, I used to ask people what they were most looking forward to in regards to modding once it's opened up, but modding is here now. What is something that you think needs to be created mod-wise?
Slings, no. Well, obviously the mouse.
Yep.
But something that definitely needs to be created mods-wise. Shit, I might actually unironically say slings, because I think I just think they're so interesting, and they totally would make sense for a game like DayZ.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily there's obviously other maps that I would like to see, that were a DayZ mod that I would like to see in standalone.
Yep.
But to specifically say one mod, one gun, one this, one that, I think a lot of people will say the Epoch mod or this or that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, if I have to say something specific, I feel like slings would actually be kind of interesting and fun.
Yep.
And would totally make sense for a game like DayZ, right?
Yeah.
Where instead of having guns glued to your back, just saying hey, you know what? You need to craft something to do it, or maybe have one rope, so it's super accessible, but it's not fake.
Yeah.
It's not just and it's on your back, I don't know. Again, I haven't really thought these kinds of questions very much through, but I think right now that would be my answer.
In your opinion, what is it about DayZ that separates it from other games in its genre?
Separates it from this other games in the genre. Well, for one, it's the best multiplayer one.
Yep.
Hands down. The best multiplayer survival game. Because it has its roots in Arma, it definitely has that PvP quality that other games just quite haven't hit. If you look at Miscreated, a lot of people saying Miscreated looks great. Miscreated's got a bunch of interesting features. The map looks much better. It's better than DayZ. And then I say but the PvP sucks. So what's it worth? Nothing, right? So it's not nothing, but when you say what really makes DayZ stand out is that it's just the best one. It's the one that hits all the notes the best. Do I think that DayZ is perfect at everything? Hell no. But because if you look at Scum, there's a health system that makes way more sense and stuff like that. If you look at, I'm just gonna make a comparison to Tarkov, the gunplay, etc. But when one package comes together, DayZ is just on top, and I don't see any game people are talking about Dead Matter right now. the Dead Matter to me still does not look anywhere close to as good as DayZ. So yeah, it's just the best one. That's the way I would separate it. It's just the best one. It's the one that sets the industry standard.
Yep. All other games are compared to, there's been many a DayZ killer and no one's killed it yet.
Right, exactly.
Okay, now we move on to the rapid fire questions. Just say the first thing that pops into your mind.
Okay.
Favorite long range weapon?
Mosin.
Least favorite long range weapon?
IZH.
Favorite auto weapon?
M4.
Least favorite auto weapon?
MP5.
KOS?
Sometimes.
First person or third person?
First person, duh.
Favorite server?
After Zero.
Favorite place on the map?
Severgrad.
Public or private servers?
Privates. For sure, private.
Marry, fuck, kill, Toprek, Mr. OG, R. Diddy.
I'd kill OG.
I knew you were going to say
100%.
that. I fucking knew you were going to say that.
100%. I would fuck Diddy, marry Top.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Okay then. Time for the best part of the interview, the intelligent questions from the viewers.
Okay.
Okay, Toprek.
I'm ready.
Who's your best Karma Crew recruit? You don't have to answer, I know.
Oh, that's in his question still? Like, you don't have to answer, I know?
Yeah, he said that.
Karma Crew recruits. I don't know. He always says that I'm his boss for some reason, which is totally not the case in Karma Crew. I'm the guy who started it, and organized like some stuff regarding like events or something, but I'm not the boss, the best recruit. Shit. Who is your favorite friend among Karma Crew? You have to pick one. Well, I'll just say definitely not Taupe. That's my answer.
Rob Doyle comes in. Could you please ask Mindy how he finds the motivation to spend the time editing and publishing his vids on YouTube? And please pass on my compliments and thanks for the many hours of entertainment, especially for Brothers of DayZ.
Hey, thank you very much, dude. Well, first of all, it's also my job, right? So I'm not gonna lie about saying like, oh yeah, this is something I wake up for every, like it's also a job. So It pays the bills. So it's important is that you keep doing it. But the reason why I still make DayZ videos and still have fun making DayZ videos is because what I touched on earlier. Because every single story is different, and you can tell every single story in a different way. And videos, music, putting emotion into that specific situation that happened is what makes making DayZ videos for me still interesting after doing it for over 6 years now. Well, I didn't make DayZ videos for 6 years, but making videos for 6 years.
Okay. Kerbo, the voice of DayZ. So Mindy, whatever happened to Mork?
Oh, the game.
No, it's not a game. It's an old TV show. You're probably not old enough to remember it. It was Robin Williams' show. Mork and Mindy. He was an alien who landed on Earth, and yeah.
It's a Mindy joke. Getcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
There you go. You showed just how young you are, and you made me show just how old I am. So thank you, Kerbo.
That's also
you
not a
fucking
Dutch
asshole.
thing.
But no, seriously.
That's not a Dutch thing.
No, it's not. It's an American TV show.
Yeah.
So seriously though, he does have a real question. Are there any games announced or coming soon that ignite your interest? If so, what about them catches your attention? Thank you.
Well, we touched upon it already. The Master Chief Collection for Halo is one I'm really looking forward to. Mostly because I've just been playing so much Halo 3 and have such a fun time playing it, and finally be able to play like a good version on PC. Hell yeah.
I can't wait to do that scene in Halo 3 where you're in the ATV going across the planet as it's all blowing up behind you, and that epic music playing. It's just, Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That one is going to be great. I'll say the new Elder Scrolls.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting.
Red Dead Redemption on PC.
Yeah, they're not going to release that, I think.
Don't say that.
I don't think they're going to release that.
Don't say that.
They haven't done the previous one. They're not going to do this one.
Don't say that.
I don't think there's going to be much, like I think they're making too much money on GTA 5 online still, so I don't think they're going to release that.
Don't say that.
Sorry. It's true. I think. Maybe not.
Weepif, ask if he has been recognised on the streets yet by a fan.
No.
Well, there you go.
That's a hard no. But I have been to Gamescom, and I've definitely had people recognize me there. I mean, to be fair, I was standing around a DayZ booth. But I've had that definitely helps. But I have had once happen that someone recognized me in Schiphol Airport, which is the main airport in Amsterdam, while I was going to Gamescom, actually. I think it was Birmingham, I don't remember. But someone said, like, hey, I saw you in the line of this, of the plane. I'm like, I saw you on Schiphol Airport. And I was like, how'd you know it was me? He was like, well, because you were wearing your Astra backpack and it had a DayZ tag on it. I'm like, okay, well, that's definitely me.
Yeah.
And I said, like, well, why didn't you say hello? He's like, well, I don't know, I felt a little bit awkward. So that, I guess, is the only one in the wild, I would say, is when it happened. But like, honestly, if anyone would recognize me, I would be super stoked to talk to you and say hello and have a little chat.
So there you go, folks.
I mean,
if you
come on,
see your
like, if someone
M1ndr1 in the
recognizes
wild,
you, that's...
go up to him and say g'day, you'll make his day.
Yeah, I mean, like, how would that not be awesome? Like, the same thing with Gamescom. Like, people asking for a picture. I'm like, I'm just some pasty dude here, playing video games in my way to... Yeah, I'm in the attic, so...
Yep.
I'm in the attic now. That's what's going on.
Okay, Meadows says that I should get drunk with my guest like I did with Mr. B. No, that will never be happening again. That was a once only. And oh my fucking God, I regretted that so hard the next day. But he wants to ask Minder who his favourite DayZ YouTuber streamer was back in the day.
I mean, I'd have to say Frankie.
Yep.
Before he started scripting his videos. I definitely noticed at some point that he was saying stuff in game and his microphone wasn't turned on the screen.
Yeah.
So I was like, And then I definitely noticed more similarities. And that completely ruined Frankie for me. Like it just was a switch in my head. Then I was just like, oh, it's scripted. He's not actually saying what he was saying in game, and that really ruined it for me. Some people don't care about that, but for me, that really ruined it.
I never noticed
but
it.
He definitely... Yeah, okay, well, I mean, like, if you didn't notice it, like, maybe I ruined it for you right now.
No,
but
I still enjoy the memories.
Okay, yeah, anyway, like, that's... I definitely enjoy the memories, too. Like, he was my inspiration for making story type of content.
I think nearly every
DayZ
DayZ content creator can trace their origins back to him, whether it be directly or by someone who was influenced by him. He's pretty much at the top of the tree for everyone.
Of course, yeah. He made story time videos popular.
Yeah.
He started the genre, and he deserves the credit for that. DayZ wouldn't have been what it is right now, especially in the landscape of YouTube and Twitch, if it wasn't for Frankie setting that precedent.
Yeah.
Of, like, look at this Arma mod where you can tell stories. You know.
Foxy Pote, what happened with the After Zero server? Looked like the community was strong, but now it seems like an empty server. Would be good to see it back again.
So After Zero, for the people that don't know, is a roleplay server that I started up with a group of people. Johnny Rotten is one of those, and a bunch of great people as well. To set up like a roleplay server, which would be kind of a little bit more streamer friendly, right? One thing I've had experience with a server like DayZ Underground, and like that's when I recorded my Brothers of DayZ series. But there's always been this issue where there's been some kind of hostility towards streamers because they are quite open about what they're doing, right? And this would open them up to people watching streams, then using that specific knowledge to use for their character, and then use it as an advantage. So there's always been this conflict there, and we all said it's like we want to get out of it. We want to get out of that situation, that negative space, and then push it to a new server. So we did after Zero immediately. Great success in the beginning. Over 1,300 people in Discord. It was going great, and there was one specific like bad guy group called the Unknown in the server, and through some sort of conflict, won't get into the details, through a conflict with something that happened with people on people who were a part of that group of the Unknown, and with people on the server, with admins, that kind of got them to step away from the server. And with that, there was a big like connection, like this little like spider in the web thing that was missing from the server all of a sudden, because they were the bad guys, right? And everyone in their roleplay was now missing these bad guys. And because the server is so new, there wasn't really a chance to really get into building their own stories with a bunch of different people on the server. Now, add to that is that there was some issues, like there was some drama between groups, between themselves, and like the typical roleplay thing. But because I think that's the big one, because that missing link all of a sudden fell away, it for a lot of people it kind of like stopped their story in their track. Now, what I would want to say is that we got a plan for after Zero, pretty short term. I'll tell it here right now. I've got some really exciting plans for a second season of Brothers of DayZ that we're going to be doing in After Zero.
Yep.
And we already have a really good storyline set that we want to like vaguely follow.
Yep.
That we want to do, especially like the beginning is a little bit more scripted in that regard, that we want to really give it a direction, and then from there let the role play its thing. But the way we're gonna set that up is we're gonna make like a really big thing on the server, so it gives people a lot of reason to come back, because there's now that missing link that will be there again. And I'm not saying necessarily good or bad, but we have plans to make it better. It's a shame After Zero has been kind of like dead for like the past 2 months, but it's definitely not forgotten. We're working on it. We've got plans for it, and I think it's going to be pretty exciting.
Good to hear, mate. I'll get you to send me through some more info on how people go about signing up to join to the server and stuff like that, just so we can add that in the description of the video as well for anyone who may be interested in potentially a starring role in the next Brothers of DayZ series.
Well, I don't want to mention it like that, because people are then going to try and put it in. But yeah, we definitely got some exciting plans for After Zero. The Discord is discord.after-zero.com.
Yep.
It should be easy to join, but we'll have it in the description anyway.
Awesome. Last question from the viewer, Fishy Bong Waters. What, if anything, do you remember about your first encounter in DayZ?
First encounter into DayZ. I remember my first day of playing DayZ. I cancelled a date with Saskia. She wasn't happy.
Does she know what you cancelled it for?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. No.
And she's still with you?
I literally. Yeah. She was still with me.
That's a keeper.
That's a keeper.
Put a ring on that finger, mate.
We've been together. Easy. We've been together for. We've been together for over 5 years. So yeah. But I canceled the date. I told her like this is this big thing that we've been waiting for, and it's finally releasing, and I need to play it. I remember being in the dark trying to find a flashlight, getting a flashlight working, and then just like running into random people, being like so hyped on adrenaline.
Yep.
And then just running into, like, finally found one of my friends and immediately getting killed, and then it was already like quite late, so I had to get off.
Yep.
But it kind of sounds a little bit boring, because it wasn't just things like, oh yeah, I ran into this person, we ran into this story. No, it was a complete shit show. Day one of DayZ Standalone. That was not a very exciting time in regards to DayZ stories, but it was it was pretty fun. It was pretty freaking fun.
Final questions, mate. 71,000 followers on Twitch, 169,969 subs on YouTube. That is pretty fucking impressive, mate.
Thank you.
Which is your favourite platform, though?
Favorite platform. Let me put it this way, because I want to be a little bit. I want to give like a proper answer to it.
Yep.
In regards to, I love Twitch because it allows me to get close to my community. It's the most interactive, the most fun way of creating the content that I make. I will not go away from Twitch at any time whatsoever, because I think that's where, you know, like the people that have helped you get to where you are, and they're like, you know, like they're sort of like friends. Like you meet them you see they're a name in chat,
yep.
But they're so much more than that, you know. Like I'm sure you know this as well. But in regards to sheer content, I would have to say YouTube, and here's why. The big issue I have with Twitch, and I've always had with Twitch, is that Twitch, in its nature, is competitive.
Mm-hmm.
As in, because it is live, you are competing for viewers. And this competing for viewers thing creates a lot of negative tension sometimes between content creators. You know, like there's definitely, like it's hard to not have a feeling when all of a sudden like you're streaming for like X amount of people, and then you know, like you see the viewership drop because another person came online, and you're thinking to yourself like, why would they watch that person? What am I doing wrong? And it brings a lot of like negative thoughts and like doubts into what you're doing. And Twitch, because it's a great thing because it allows you to really to be yourself and really to express yourself. There's no real faking on. There is definitely faking on Twitch, but there is, some people can hide it a lot better than others. But it also means that if you're having a bad day, especially if you use a face cam, people are gonna know.
Yep.
And it's the hardest critic, like the toughest critic that it can possibly be. Right? This constant like might not be intentional, but you are constantly getting judged on Twitch based on how you're feeling that day. And, you know, some people handle that very well. Some people handle it a little bit less.
Oh, look, I think everyone's seen that famous footage of Summit smashing his computer.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So Twitch is great in that regard. But, you know, like YouTube, what I like about YouTube is that it is you doing your thing, and it has not taken away views from anyone else. Right? It's not a competitive thing. Obviously, there's going to be people comparing stuff, but it's just you doing your thing. People watch you because of you, right? Not because you're at the top of a list on Twitch. It's, in that regard, it's not competitive. It's just completely your thing. And in that regard, I'd say I like that platform better. But what YouTube will never have is that interaction with the community, which Twitch is. Which is why I will never get away from Twitch, just because there is no community without Twitch, right? That's how it feels, at least. Like it's weird, right? Because you got like 160 something thousand subscribers, and you feel like your community is on Twitch. But that's how it feels like. So yeah, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but I'm gonna have to say, because of the lack of competitiveness, the lack of having to one-up another person in what you're doing, and less of a popularity contest, I think YouTube I like better as a platform.
Yep. So your love for the finer things in life when it comes to wine and food is well known by anyone who's watched your streams. What is the killer meal that anyone out there can cook to impress a young man or woman, or anything else that they may wish to identify as, on a first date? And what is a wine they should drink with it that won't break the bank?
Right. So you want to impress, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
And this is actually funny. I had a conversation with my brother on Monday, because he joins us for dinner on Monday. We had a conversation about what would be like a really good like wine and dine kind of meal you should make for a lady. And I'm gonna straight out, and I think we found the perfect one. a vegetarian risotto. Right? A vegetarian risotto. But if you make it in such a way that it is good, it not only shows that you know how to make like good food, obviously, but you know how to make something without that doesn't have meat. Like, so like some people say like, oh yeah, I would definitely like make her a steak or something. But steak, if you know how to cook a steak well, that's not really dangerous or thinking outside the box. If you think about like a vegetarian risotto, making something nice with like mushrooms and you add some peas and a little bit of mint, right? And then some Parmesan cheese and a little bit of lemon zest, right? You already get like a very interesting meal where people go like, what the fuck? Like, and then you taste it, it's like, oh, this is really good. And it's different and it's vegetarian, right? So it's not like, I'm not leaning on like delicious like meat or anything like that. It's just like, you can say like, okay, I can cook a vegetarian meal. I got the skills to make a risotto well. And it also tastes interesting and different from what you're used to. And then a wine that goes with that. Nothing too heavy. I would go with a red wine, but maybe like a... because you're working with the peas and the mint and a little bit of lemon. You could go for like a nice Pinot Noir, which doesn't have to be expensive. I wouldn't really go with like a super heavy wine, a little bit lighter, a little bit fruitier. Like maybe get like a Pinot Noir and then, or like a Fleury, and then put that in the fridge for like 10 minutes, like a red wine, and then get it out. So it's like a little bit colder. So it has like that nice little bit of acidity to cut through the cheese. That would be good. You could go anything for like the lighter, fruitier one. You can even go for like a Merlot or something, or like a Cabernet Sauvignon. But putting that red wine in the fridge 10 minutes prior makes a really big difference.
I did not know that, so I've learned something.
Yeah, because the interesting thing is because, well, obviously like scent becomes like bigger when it warms up, right? Like when it's evaporated. So when you take a sip, initially you're going to be like, oh, that's cold, but it warms up in your mouth. So there's all these like aromas kind of releasing as the wine is warming up in your mouth. And that's actually pretty exciting. So you get first the acidity and then the fumes coming through.
Well, I can say I will never cook a vegetarian meal, and I will never cook for a vegetarian either. I am a complete and utter meat carnivore. I love the stuff. And if anyone wants to eat at my house, they have to eat meat. Never trust anyone who doesn't eat
Parma
meat.
ham. Add Parma ham and you're good.
Okay, still on the topic of cooking. You're Dutch. What's your best hash cookie recipe?
Hash cookie? That's actually kind of racist, to be honest. No, I'm not a smoker. I've tried hash once. I didn't like it. I don't smoke weed. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke hash. I don't eat edibles. I am Dutch. It's not really. It's not for me. I'm sorry.
I couldn't resist, mate. I couldn't resist. And who knows? You might have had a great recipe for those out there, but I couldn't resist throwing that one in there. And I will actually apologise for asking you this.
Oh, that's fine.
No, when I wrote it, I thought, but I never asked Renee the same question.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, like, you can literally ask me anything.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm not going to be offended about anything.
Okay. I want to ask you about something. Mr. OG, or the Sniper God, as he's called. I've watched a few times when you're streaming with him. Usually when you and Diddy are streaming with him. You guys give him such a fucking hard time. Why is that?
What?
You guys do. You are fucking bad to him at times. You guys make so much.
Okay.
I know he's hilarious. That footage of Toprek where he's running into fucking Zelenogorsk and attention bad people, and then he just gets one-shotted. That's just classic Mr. OG. Yep. But fuck you two, give it to him sometimes.
Well, okay. So first of all, OG could be a little bit of a dipshit because he, like, whenever he is... Yeah, it's true, because whenever we're playing together, he sometimes is so lax in the way that he plays DayZ. Like, you notice it all the time. He gets killed by zombies, not because he's bad, but because he is just semi-interested playing DayZ. And it's so frustrating, especially when you're trying to meet up with him. Like, he constantly dies,
I will give that. That's a recurring theme of when I've watched his, you guys going, fucking hell, where are you, OG? And he's either lost or he's,
Yeah, but like it's not necessarily that he is really trying his hardest. He's not. So we're giving him shit, right?
Yeah.
1, 2. He always has like this self-proclaimed sniper god thing. Like, it's so like it's just begging to be ridiculed, right? And to be honest, like he's kind of a dick to people too. Like he's been calling me like the Night King and the White Walker recently, right? And fair enough. My skin's kind of light. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not disagreeing with that. But to say like it's at the end of the day, it's all banter, right? But because he is so, sometimes he's so lax in the shit that he does. Is not like it's just like one. It can be a little bit frustrating, right? Because especially like we've definitely noticed it a couple of months ago when we were really trying. Like Diddy was trying to meet up with us. Like Diddy was really going on into playing it before 4 a.m. and he really wanted to play with us together. And OG was just kind of like constantly dying and not really like paying attention. So it's not necessarily that we just give him shit because we're assholes, right? It comes like at the end of the day, it's also banter,
Okay.
right? And OG is the kind of guy that dishes us out just as much.
He
as
does. I will agree with
he
that
loves
point.
it,
I will
so-
agree with that point.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to those videos you did for the dev team a while back?
Well, I guess I can kind of talk about one right now. The Twitter post of them saying the Xbox is 30% off.
No, but anyway.
That they did. Okay, well, that has a trailer playing, actually. That is one that I made. One that I wrote, I directed, and I filmed.
Yep.
Right? But I didn't do any of the editing, and I didn't do any of the audio work or the music or anything like that, right? But the storyline was pretty much something I've been working on, and they never released it, right? So I was a little bit bummed out because that was my first big project that I did for them, and then now they finally released it, so now I can talk about it. Like, hey, that's something that I worked on. Again, audio is not my work, but the kind of the storyline, the filming and stuff like that.
Again, I'll get you to send me a link to that tweet just so we can put it in the description so people can go and watch it if they want to.
Yeah. Write that down. I'll send it to you. Right. So, and I have been doing other projects since. Not stuff that has been as publicly seen, but there's definitely some footage here and there that they used. Some Xbox promotional stuff, some footage that's in there that's mine. Mine, I filmed. It's theirs, but I filmed. Some stuff I'm working on right now, actually, which is going to be a pretty exciting project, which I cannot talk about. But I'm still working for them, freelance every once in a while. I think the reason why they're working with me is one, because I'm not like a really good editor or anything. I'm just like pretty good, but I think the reason why they want to work with me is because they understand who they're dealing with, and because they understand that I know what would be good to show off in DayZ. And if you just hire a random editor, they have no idea, right? And also I have connections with the community and stuff like that. So I think that's the reason why probably Bohemia still wants to work with me. And I think it's awesome, right? Like it's you play this game, like you make some videos for it, and now you're working alongside with the devs to create something awesome for them that they will use to promote it. So it's truly a privilege, and it's ongoing still.
So what are your thoughts on the latest live action trailer? My opinion is I thought it was fucking amazing.
Right, I loved it. It's especially the shot of the guy looking back from with the riffy shipwreck in the background. Yeah, that one was just so good. It was really good. It was a really good trailer. I'm not 100% sure about the timing of it. Here's PS4. Here's the live action trailer. Like I would have saved it up a little bit more for something a little bit more exciting. Like, hey, we're releasing something like something big, like a bigger patch, and then just release the live action trailer with that.
Well, it is kind of ironic they're using trucks in it, and we don't have trucks in the game at the moment. But
right, exactly. Yeah, it's a little bit true. But come on, it was like, how can you not like what they did? Like, obviously, it was a proper budget for it. Yep. The director nailed it. The cinematography was amazing.
The choice of actors was brilliant. Yeah, they picked average-looking people. They didn't pick Johnny Rambo, fucking stepped off of the latest bloody U.S. Marine Navy fucking SEALs ship or something like that. They were average people.
Right,
the old guy, the girl, just everyone in general was brilliant.
Yeah, 100% agreed. And I think the praise should definitely go to Bohemia for wanting to invest into doing something like that.
Yeah.
You know, they could have easily said, like, oh, let's make another in-game trailer, right?
Yeah.
Which they did, by the way. But yeah, no, yeah, it's for sure interesting. Can we get a series of this, please?
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be great.
That would be. What do you think of the PS4 and Xbox release? Xbox has been out a while, and we talked about it before. What do you think about them going to a PS4 release whilst there's still those glaring problems with the console version of the game?
I think that's a corporate decision.
Yeah.
I think that obviously they're trying to, while the iron is hot, they're still trying to strike and get some revenue out of Xbox and PS4, which I don't necessarily disagree with.
No, it's a business, and at the end of the day, they've got to make money. They've got bills to pay. If we want them to keep on developing the game, they need us to continue. I know they've made a lot of money. I know people will say that, but they're a business. So I can't blame them for making $1.
Right, and that's totally acceptable. But for me, what I found is they need to be have a higher standard for the patches they're releasing. Not necessarily just for Xbox and PS4, but for PC as well. Like right now, the sole priority is to get deadlines.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily about the quality of the product that you're delivering necessarily anymore. It's just get the deadline, right? Like I would say, like, okay, just wait like a couple of weeks and then release something that's like really like a little bit more polished and has
the melee bug that
fixed.
they released in that patch that drove the community wild.
Which melee bug?
The one where you were overextending and unable to turn around, I think it was, and just the amount of tweets I read about it.
Oh, that was not a bug. That was 100%.
Sorry, I used the wrong word. Yeah.
That's exactly. Them making the melee more static is definitely one of those that's. Yeah, that backfired. But they like, to their credit, they reverted that. They listened to community feedback and they said, but I wish they would do that a little bit more often. But to credit where credit is due, Peter, for one, has been really good in listening to direct feedback and has been really trying to.
Peter is amazing.
Really trying to listen to the community and try to really get the best experience out of it. I don't necessarily agree with all the decisions that have been made.
Yep.
But coming back to Xbox and PS4, I'm really hoping they can fix the issue so that the launch of PS4 doesn't immediately overshadow with this negative gameplay experience. But it looks like that's not going to be the case because they're going to release 1.02. Which is the buggy shit show that it is right now on Xbox as well.
I'm wondering if they've released it to try to cash in a bit on Days Gone. That did seem, from what I saw, to generate a bit of interest in the PlayStation community. And DayZ fits right into that genre. And whether they decided now's a good time, there's a bit of interest in this genre, let's release DayZ now.
Yeah, I can see that. That's actually, I haven't thought of that before, but that kind of makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
It definitely sounds like a Sony thing to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, we've talked about it a few times, the Karma Crew.
Yes.
I have said on many an occasion, I don't know whether I've ever said it to you or whether anyone's ever said to you that I said it, but I fucking hate the name. To me, it sounds like a boy band. What is the inspiration for the name of the Karma Crew? The other thing as well is, you've got 2 Ks. One more K, and that's a fucking bad name to have.
That's true. That's why we're not calling it the Karma Crew Club. Right? Stream teams are a difficult one. I was really struggling with finding like a stream team name that doesn't immediately put itself into like straight DayZ, right?
Yep.
Like it's not immediately like that's a DayZ stream team, right? Karma Crew is like a little bit generic in the name, and I think it kind of fits DayZ in the ways that karma is a thing. You know, like there's good and bad, and you know, when you fuck up, sometimes it bites you in the ass, and then when you're nice, sometimes it rewards you, and that's kind of like the name behind it. I kind of like the abbreviation of like KK, right?
Yes.
Like obviously the extra K is a little bit, you know, like that would be bad, and it's definitely not the first time someone pointed that out. But on the other end, when people say like, "Oh yeah, what about if they add one more K?" I'm like, my response is let's not. Let's not add one more K. So in that regards, the real name for it, I mean, there was a lot of brainstorming, and I think Karma Crew is a good name because it's you know, like it's something that sticks.
So how does one go if they're interested in joining the Karma Crew? What have they got to do?
Well, for one, we don't necessarily have like an application process. So what Karma Crew is it's more that we all keep an eye on people in our community, in the DayZ community, obviously on Twitch, because it's a Twitch stream team. And it's like, obviously like I'm the main like kind of like guy looking out for this, but everyone else is as well. Well, yeah, I'm the guy started it, right? So I'm the guy who needs to actually invite people. But we collectively look out for people who we think we should join. Erno was the most recent addition, and we all collectively agreed, you know, like multiple people said, like, hey, you know what, you should invite Erno to the Karma Crew. And then I was like, you know what, I agree with that. And then we kind of decided on doing that. There is no application process. Karma Crew is a group, like, I think one of the big things right now I want to do for Karma Crew is that it's a group of like team players. Not everyone who is just big in the DayZ community should be a part of Karma Crew, because people are not always team players. You know, like we want to work together. We want to create content together. We want to create a friendship together, and we want to be able to like stick together and be a solid, fair, and honest representation of what DayZ is on Twitch. And that's what Karma Crew has always been. It's not this place where we want to say like everyone who's DayZ should be part of Karma Crew. That's why a lot of people are not a part of Karma Crew, because it's a relatively small group. We're not just going to say anyone that streams DayZ should be a part of it, right? We have a little bit of a different idea of what Karma Crew should be about. Karma Crew should mean something. Being a part of Karma Crew should mean something. If you're a DayZ guy and you look at anyone in Karma Crew, you would go like, yeah, you know what? That guy represents DayZ properly and fairly, you know. And sometimes that comes with criticism. Sometimes that comes with like like a lot of the times it comes with positivity as well. You know, it's a good place with the good people, with a good community backing it. And that's what Karma Crew should all be about.
Okay. You are a very opinionated man. You never hold back when you've got something that you want to say, sometimes to the point of being quite aggressive on topics. Why is that? What's made you like that?
Well, one thing that's a little bit different here from what people are used to is that I'm Dutch, right? And Dutch are a lot more upfront than other cultures, right? Where a lot of people would kind of like stick to themselves and not say anything. As a Dutch person, generally, they would a little bit easier speak out to something, right? I'm personally quite an emotional guy, right? So I get riled up. I put a lot of emotion into what I'm doing, what I'm seeing, especially regarding DayZ. Like, it's been part of my life for years now. And I'm invested in that project. So talking about this can definitely, you know, like it's a matter of passion, right? It's, you know, like everyone can have strong opinions, right? And I'm the guy that voices that a little bit more often. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's always a good thing or a bad thing. A lot of people think that voicing opinions is a bad thing. People sometimes literally say like you're not supposed to say these things, and I'll tell them to go suck a fat penis. You know, because at the end of the day, I think it's important is that you should be able to be allowed and able to express yourself properly, as long as you don't insult anyone, in my opinion, or try to hurt anyone. In my opinion, you should be able to talk about anything, and I think that's important. And I think that sometimes people disagree with me on that, and sometimes I disagree with people on that, and sometimes people disagree with me on that quite emotionally, and sometimes I disagree with people on that quite emotionally, and that happens. That's just a matter of life, and some people take that a little bit differently than me. Like for me, if we have a disagreement, completely fine. At the end of the day, whatever has been said, if I say your opinion fucking sucks, and that person say your opinion fucking sucks, I wouldn't go all offended. I would go, all right, let's agree to disagree, and then move on.
Okay. What advice would you give to people thinking about buying DayZ?
Try and really understand what the game is about before you play it. Because a lot of people play DayZ and they only see highlights on YouTube and they think like that's just what the game is all the time. I'd highly advise you to watch streams. Streams are the best way to understand how a game plays.
Yeah.
You really need to get like in a headspace to play DayZ. If you're a new DayZ player, try and immerse yourself into what you're playing. You're not just playing a video game. Try and really make it a whole experience about being in it. Like try to pretend you're inside this character, which is why I'd also recommend playing in first person, because it brings you so much more into this DayZ experience. That third person, although it's nice to look at your character, just is not really going to bring.
Yep.
So that's my biggest tip for people looking into getting DayZ, or when they start playing it, try to really immerse yourself and try to pretend like you're a character. And mix it up. Like there's not just one gameplay style. Like sometimes you could pretend to be someone else. You can be a bandit. You can be a good guy. And the best thing, and you're gonna get the most out of DayZ if you just mix and match and try every single thing. And then if you eventually get comfortable in the game, that's when gates start really opening up to really some really incredible adventures. When you are comfortable not losing, if you lose gear and you say, who cares? And you decide to go for that interaction rather than shoot them, that's when the cool moments really start happening. And sometimes they shoot back, and that's great, and then you have to deal with that. And sometimes they're friendly, that's also great. And sometimes they're really sketchy, and they have to tie them up, or you have to do this.
And the sooner they add fractures back in, you can have a shooting match which doesn't have to end in death.
Exactly, yes. So, for sure, just play DayZ as how it's best played, and that's when you'll have the most fun out of it.
Yeah. In your opinion, is DayZ the game you hoped it would be when you first heard about the standalone project?
No. And I don't think it's ever going to be that. I don't think DayZ is ever going to get past this negative stigma. I think they kind of could have done it, but I think right now with like how Xbox and PS4 is really putting a big dent into DayZ as well, like in the reputation of DayZ, I think I don't think DayZ is ever going to get over the reputation that it has right now, causing people to think like this is one of the best games ever made. I don't think they're going to get over that. I think it's always going to hang above DayZ, and I've always hoped it would be the game that would always set the standard for gaming for a very long time in regards to not shooting, just shooting, but also like something survival related. So my answer is going to be no to that, really.
I think they could take a leaf out of Scum's book with crafting. I love crafting in Scum. It's so intuitive, so interactive. There's so much you can do. Whereas DayZ is just so limited.
Well, it goes way deeper than that, in my opinion. Like it's not necessarily about lacking features. Even if they add all the features in the game, like there's always going to be a negative thing hanging over DayZ.
Yeah.
And DayZ will never release updates that set a standard of where they should be. There's still issues with like hair clipping. There's still issues with like guns misaligning. There's still scopes disappearing. There's still so many small things in the game that any other outside player is going to look into and think like, see, this game is still buggy as fuck, and it will always be buggy as fuck, because that's what DayZ is right now. This pace of development means that the quality is just always going to be at 80%, and that's what DayZ is just going to be from now on.
It's funny you mentioned the hair clipping. I was looking at the comments on the live action trailer, and someone put a comment there, 100% not a true representation of the game. Hair didn't clip through the balaclava. And I couldn't help myself. I had a chuckle. I did have a chuckle. Because that to me is...
it says a lot.
It really does let the game down, that the stuff they've got in there still isn't 100% polished. The hair clipping through, the other little graphical bugs, it's disappointing that they've let those go through to the keeper, as we say in Australia. It's a cricket reference. It's little things like that. If they could polish them up, it'd just go a long way to making DayZ look like the great game that we know it is. Most of us who love the game, we can look past those little things because we know what's the bigger picture of DayZ is. That those little things, as annoying as they are, but for someone like yourself doing your role play sort of stuff, it must be frustrating at times being limited and having little things like that, and it must annoy you when you're looking back editing a video, just going, why couldn't they fix that?
Well, you can be a perfectionist about everything, right? But
DayZ's not a good game to be a perfectionist.
No, exactly. And when it comes to that kind of, stuff, I truly think is that there's a little bit of a lack of understanding from the perspective from the devs of how big of an impact small visual bugs have. Like 1.02 had this gun pointing down sometimes when you're aiming, and they say like, well, okay, it's only a visual thing. Same thing with the hair clipping through. Yeah, but you're constantly being reminded as a player that this game is still full of bugs. And that's the detriment to DayZ right now. If you want to leave the past behind of this negative stigma for DayZ, the most important thing is to at least have good perception of the game. If the game still has issues, that's fine, but you need to get the perception of the player to a point where they say, okay, you know what? They fixed a lot of issues. I still notice a couple of few things, right? But there's not anything throwing me into my face. And when you're trying to put on a hat, and every single hat you wear looks shit, that's not minor. That's not just, it's visual, but it's not a minor thing. And I think sometimes there's a little bit of a lack of understanding and appreciation of how important that is.
Last question for you, mate. What can we expect from you in the future?
A second season of Brothers of DayZ. More story-related videos on YouTube. More involvement with DayZ servers, After Zero, the Karma Crew server, getting both of those populated, in my opinion, is important because they still could fill a hole that really, in my opinion, is lacking in DayZ in terms of content. If you look at the Karma Crew server, it's a vanilla server, right? So no mods. It's first person, but all vanilla first person community servers right now are pretty much just. They're pretty much just, in my opinion, they're too easy, right? Like there's a shit ton of loot spawning, shit ton of food, ammo, nighttime is short. It's just basically DayZ for kiddies. And I would like it to be a little bit more hardcore so that also the more experienced player is going to be finding their DayZ itch there. And with After Zero, like I said, a streamer-friendly roleplay server that isn't regarding about toxic people running it. That is just there to create awesome freaking stories, and sometimes that's something that I feel like is lacking with DayZ as well. So I'm looking forward into that. From what you can expect from me, I'm going to try and grow as a person. More cooking streams is the plan. Just in general, being a part of this journey of DayZ, and along for the ride to see where it's taking us.
You said something strange in there. You got to grow as a person. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm 27, right? So I'm doing this thing full time, but I'm I'm still relatively young. Like anyone who's 27 claims to be a full adult and be fully like a full-fledged wise individual is lying to themselves, right? So when I'm saying I'm going to grow as a person, it also means is that because I'm at this point in my life where I'm like, it's a pretty interesting point in my life, right? Like 27, got a house, probably kids is going to happen in not too long. Like I'm definitely going to go through going to be changing as a person, changing emotionally. So that's that's going to be part of the journey. And like I said, I'm planning on doing this for a while, and that's definitely something that will be a part of that journey, because because a lot of what I do with streaming, this is why I'm using a face cam, is because I think I want it to be a personal thing. I don't want to hide anything. Like it's I'm me, this is me, and some people like that, some people don't. But at least I am representing myself honestly online, and that's that means that I'm also going to change, and that you're going to be a part of that. I probably am very different from what I was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a part of it.
Okay. M1ndr, thank you so much for doing this, mate. You and I have been talking on and off about doing this interview for over a year now.
For a while.
We initially said we'd do it after beta was released, and then 1.0 got released, and then I had my break, but we finally got to do it, mate. I want to thank you so much. It was as good as I expected it to be, mate. Probably better. Folks, M1ndr, is there anything you'd like to say to everyone?
Well, I want to say thank you, first of all, for wanting to do this, because I think it's a really cool thing of getting an insight of people off stream, right? People are always streaming is different, right?
Yeah.
Like people are different on stream. Content creators are different on stream or on YouTube, and this is honest, this is open, this is direct. There's no hiding here, and thank you for making that a platform, because I think that's definitely something people
you know why I do it, don't you?
Could be interested in. Well, also to do this, right?
It's because I'm shit at fucking doing videos myself of gameplay, mate. But I can talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles. So this is an easy way for me to capitalise, get those all-important views by interviewing people with 100 times the skill I'll ever have.
Well, like I said, it's appreciated for me, and I think it's appreciated within the DayZ community that you do this. So, yeah, that's what I would want to say. And I don't necessarily want to say a message to everyone else. Other than like support what Boydie's doing, and
thank you, mate.
Yeah, have like Boydie's a good person who's really, in my opinion, also an important part of the DayZ community. And sometimes you're being a little bit underappreciated. So I'm hoping that it's gonna do better for you.
Okay, folks, that's it. The next DayZ Spotlight. Now, I should have released the promo for it before I released this. That's a tip I got from the running man, was to release the promo for the next one before I release the actual video, so it doesn't knock it down on my video list. But the next one is going to be a very interesting one, and it is with JLK. Yep, he wants to do an interview so he can finally clear up everything, address any questions that you all may have for him as well. Okay. As always, if there's any insults, I'm not going to fucking read them. But if you've got a serious question, he said he'll answer anything you want to about the admin tool abuse issue or anything else on that topic. As always, place your questions in the promo video. There'll be a link in the description, if not popping up at the end of the video. But that should be quite the interview.